Hello and welcome to what I hope will be the first of many equestrian themed workouts. Now this is an area which, as an equestrian myself, I find it very frustrating at the lack of decent transferable exercises that will actually help you within the saddle. You hear all the time about people talking about the incorrect hip position and how to correct that, the incorrect ankle position and how to correct that, or that you've got a weak core and you desperately need to do all these core stability exercises to help you. The problem is most core stability exercises, or indeed hip and butt strengthening exercises, do not transfer well to riding. So that's what I'm going to try and slowly create an exercise library for you so you can start to see results when you get into the saddle. So for this workout, I've tried to keep it as minimal on equipment as possible, but there are three things that ideally you'd have at home. So the first one is a yoga block. We've only got one move with the block today, so if you don't have one, it's fine without. And the second thing is a light weight. I'm using this 2 kilo sandbag. If you have, generally lots of people have light dumbbells at home, so if you have one of those, brilliant. If not, grab yourself a water bottle, maybe one of those nice 2 litre ones. And lastly, I've got a yoga wedge, which we're going to use to elevate our toes for a couple of the moves. Now, again, if you don't have something like this, you could use a couple of books that you don't mind putting your toes on. I generally recommend cookbooks because they tend to be quite resilient. However, once again, if you don't have it, it's not the end of the world. Right, with all that said, let's get cracking. So, the reason that a lot of core exercises, or generally exercises for equestrians, are not very useful is because they don't actually take your spine and your core through the range that you need to use for horse riding, which, let's be very real with each other for a second, it is essentially keeping the legs and my upper body really still while my lower back and my pelvis makes what is essentially a humping motion, okay? So regular exercises like planks, lying on the ground and waving your legs around is not going to help you actually build the strength to be able to take that force to be able to make that movement. So that's the main thing that we're going to do together today. So what I want to start with, and we're going to go through this slowly and maybe start with this at home because you might feel quite silly doing it at first. I did, and that's okay. So grab yourself your weight. We're going to take the feet just about sort of shoulder distance apart. You want to feel or imagine like you have a horse underneath you. So I'm going to try and get my shoulder, hip, heel alignment. I'm going to slightly let a curve come into my spine, so my butt is just pushed back a little bit to the wall behind me. And then from there, what we're going to do is I'm going to tuck my butt underneath me whilst keeping that soft bend in my knee. And as I do that, I'm going to press my weight overhead and bring it down. So you can see that nothing is changing apart from that little tuck of my pelvis. Okay, so do this super slowly to begin with. So you can just feel like you're tucking your tail between your legs, and as you do that, pressing up, and as you get a little bit more confident, you can start increasing that speed. Again, making sure not to kind of stand up as I do it. I'm keeping that bend in my legs, and you might find at first that just feels really bloody weird, and that's fine. It is weird. Keep yourself going. We're going to do a few more. You might find your legs start to burn, holding in that quarter squat. You may not feel it too much in the core. That's fine. Last one. Rest there. Cool. Okay, the next movement we're going to do, basically going to stay in the same position that we had in the last exercise. So I've got shoulder width apart with my legs. I'm going to slightly tuck my tail underneath me for this one. So from the side, it's going to look like this. So I've got a pretty neutral position through my body. Again, I'm looking for that shoulder, hip, heel alignment with my soft knee. and my toes facing forward. So not allowing them to go out, not allowing them to go in for now. We might do that in a future workout, but for here, nice straight feet. And what we're going to do there, is I've got my tail tucked beneath me. I'm going to start to rotate my weight or your water bottle. And as I do that, notice how my knees aren't caving in. You can join me, by the way. I'm keeping my knees nice and still. Just keeping, you can follow the weight a little bit with your head, but I want the weight to be leading rather than your head, okay? So you can take this nice and slowly. Now and again, just check your alignment. Make sure your heels are underneath your hips and your shoulders, etc. You've probably heard that a million times in a riding lesson. That's it, keep going for 2, for 1. Okay, take a little break there. We're sticking with the same exercise. However, we're going to slightly change the direction of travel of your weight. So what I'm going to do, again, tuck my tail, get my alignment. I'm going to take it slightly down over my hip, and then I'm going to bring it up to shoulder height on the other side. Again, keeping that tail tuck, keeping my alignment. Bring it down, swing up, down, swing up. Knees stay still. Let's do 10 to 20 of these, and then we'll swap sides. Keep that tuck. We'll have a little break after the next exercise, a little bit of a longer break. So keep going with me for 3. Oh, I felt my knee move. 2. Last one. Okay. Straighten your legs for a second, have a little wiggle. If you find your arms really start to get tired, you can always add a little bit of a bend to the arms. That makes it a little bit easier. So let's go for that together. So yeah, if you need to, bend the arms a little bit rather than have them locked out. The locking out of the arm is certainly going to make it harder on the arm, but also it's a little bit more to decelerate for your core. A little bit more of a challenge. Check that tail is tucked underneath you. For 4 and 3, 2 and 1. Well done. Do we get to put the weight down yet? Yes, we do. Actually, no. Let's keep the weight. I'm going to be mean. Now, this is where we grab our yoga block friend. Once again, if you don't have a yoga block, don't stress. We're literally only using it for this one exercise. You can always do without. Using the yoga block will slightly challenge your balance a little bit more. So what I want you to do, the weight actually is just going to provide a little counterbalance. So if anything, it's going to make it a little bit easier. So the leg that's standing on my block, it's a soft knee. I don't want you to straighten out the knee really in any of these exercises. So I'm keeping a soft knee. I'm going to try and balance here. From there, I'm going to reach. You can see I've got a little hexagon pattern around my mat. I'm going to reach forward and out as far as I can. Bring it back in, straight out to the side. Bring it back in and back and behind me. And bring it back in. So as I reach, I'm slightly dropping through the leg that's on the yoga block. I'm not letting that knee move, I'm not letting it cave in. Everything stays quite still. Okay, keep that going. Again, actually, a good modification for these is to simply do it without the block. So here, and bring it in. Keeping everything super still. So notice this standing leg is staying nice and still. I'm staying nice and tall with my posture. Going for those 3 targets, forward and out, straight to the side, and back and out. Now if you find yourself kind of going, oh, taking your weight with you, have a little second, pause. Want to keep the weight over the standing leg. Let's do 1 more round together. 3, oh, standing leg should start to burn, good. Last one, rest there. Okay, let's swap to the other side. For yoga block users or non-yoga block users, up to you. You might have a stool at home. could always use something like that. So, weight out in front of you just to provide that little bit of counterbalance, little bend in the knee. We go, nice tall posture, forward and out to the side. Now for this side, I might turn to you so you can see it, because we all have a difference between each leg. We might rotate one way better than the other. And for me, this side, I just tend to get a little bit more of a collapse. So I'll show you what that looks like. And you might feel a little bit of a difference as well. So for me, what tends to happen on this leg is I'll just lean off to the left, sorry. And then that actually translates to when I'm riding, I get a bit of a collapse when I'm going on the left rein, and when I'm right, I just struggle to rotate a little bit. So you might notice these things. So it's really useful to kind of practice holding nice and still. And then we're also getting that abduction of the hip here, which as we know is really, really important, so that we're not squeezing into the saddle. Our legs are able to come on and off the horse as we need to make our correct aids. Okay, we're going to do one more round after this. So we go 3, 2, and 1. Right, I want you to have a decent break now, because that was not easy, right? I feel like they're all moves that look like you're not doing very much, and then in practice are actually quite exhausting. So have yourself a break. Cheers. And then we'll come to the next part of our workout. So this is where, you don't need to join me yet, this is where we're going to need our toe elevation. So if you struggle with keeping your heels down in the stirrup, sometimes, I would say not very often, it's because people have a bit of an ankle mobility issue. So if people struggle to, this is dorsiflex the ankle, so bring the toe up towards my body. If you prefer to do more of a ballet toe, you might struggle more with that. So this is basically to force that dorsiflexion position of the ankle, so you can just develop a little bit more skill in it. So we're basically going to hold this position here. From there we've got our good friend the weight as well. Again, you don't have to get a yoga wedge. You could use a couple of books, and you could even vary how wide they are, which might be quite fun, give you some variation. So what we're going to do from here, toes elevated, once again, I've got my shoulder, hip, heel, alignment. I'm going to stick my tail back behind me, and then I'm going to drive my butt forward. So I'm going to get my tail tucked underneath me as fast as I can. Notice how my knees didn't lock out as I did that, because it's very easy to go, but no, knees stay bent. As I do that, I'm going to launch my weight over my head and bring it down. So I launch, bring it down. Notice how my knees stay bent. I'm just imagining that I'm going to throw my weight over my head. Let's give that a go together. So we throw and down, throw and down. I can slightly follow the weight with my eyes. You might feel this a bit in the spine, in the lower back particularly, or you might feel it in the front of your core as well. So you might feel it in your abs. You might still be feeling it in the legs for the last exercise, but thankfully this one isn't as leggy. And I want you to really throw it to get some real force back behind you, because we really want to make sure that our lower backs and the front of our core can really take the force that our horses are going to put on us, right? Check that alignment. I think mine started to go off there. So shoulder, hip, heel. You can always take a little look underneath you to kind of make sure you can see those heels there. For 4, 3, 2, 1. Well done. Right, I'm going to keep this lovely little yoga wedge going. So building upon that same position, what we're going to do is come into, I suppose if you think about it, it's more of a jump position. So I'm going to stick my bum back. Notice we're not thinking about horse racing. I'm not down here with my knees up to my chest. It's more bum going back. So my chest slightly looks at the ground more, rather than being in more of, say, a dressage position. So I'm going to push my bum back, and what we're going to do here is, as I drive my hips forward and my tail comes underneath me, again, notice my knees haven't locked out. As I do that, I'm going to press my weight forward and back. Again, I want to think about it as a punch and back. We can get quite violent with this, which is quite fun, depending on your personality. So let's give that a go together. If you'd like to, start slow, just so you can get that movement pattern ingrained in your head. This is all likely to feel quite new, because there's not really many exercises on the market for equestrians. So it all feels maybe a little bit different, and that's okay. Any kind of sport that we do when we take it up for the first time is going to feel awkward or different, okay? And that's a natural part of the learning process. So just let yourself feel a bit awkward to begin with. That's fine. After a while, your nervous system will get it, and it will just be like, aha! Bit like when you start a new movement on a horse, say when you're doing dressage, for example, and you're like, oh my God, I'm never going to get this. Where the hell are the aids meant to go on and where? And it comes. For 2, last one, and rest there. Well done. We have one more move to go. Bad news, we are adding a little bit of a jump. So, if you are in a flat, if you have neighbours, I'm going to give you a little bit of a modification, because I understand you may not want to be jumping around in a flat. Or maybe you don't care. Jump around, no judgment here. And it's only for one move, so you can't complain that much. So, what we're going to do, we come back into that jumping position, say. So I've got a little bit of a hinge in my butt. If you want to stand to get that at first, I want to stand in front of a wall, push my bum back to the wall. And as I do that, I'm making sure that my spine doesn't round over, I'm not collapsing. So I'm thinking about lengthening through my back. And then from there, what I'm going to do is jump forward, so my hips forward, and then jump back, reach. Okay, so as I come forward, I want to make bum tuck and back, bum tuck and back, bum tuck and back. Now, that's harder version. I'm going to give you 2 options. From here, we can do, this is our slightly easier option. I can go step, 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 step. Medium option. We do our jump forwards. Notice no knees lock out. Step, step back. So I go jump forwards, step, step back. Let's give that a go together. So we hinge, we go jump, hinge, jump, hinge. Not letting my chest totally collapse. If you think about nipples, slightly looking forward and in front of you. So I'm thinking about my nipples looking towards the end of my mat rather than straight down at the ground. Just find like nipples is a better cue than saying chest, because chest can be a bit vague, you know. Last 2 and 1. Awesome job. Right, really last movement now. We're going to do the same thing, but sideways. So yeah, you should feel the heart rate start to come up now. I certainly am. You can hear me panting a bit, right? Talking and doing this is also hard. So what we're going to do, hinge in this middle position. We're going to jump side to side. So I'm going to jump side, upright, knees bent, back to my position here. Upright, knees bent, back to position. Same rules apply. I can modify that by going jump, step, step, or I can go hinge, step, 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 step. Okay, let's give that a go together. Last move, we got this. So we go jump, down, whoop, jump, down. And that's a good example of when my weight bent back a little bit too much into my heels. So I jumped and it kind of went here. So those where you slightly fall over a little bit and if your balance is challenged, that's actually a really good thing, because horse riding It's all about keeping the centre of gravity over your horse, right? So dealing with those wobbles is exactly what you want, so you can transfer those forces that the horse gives you whilst keeping your balance. We're going to go for 4, 3, 2, and 1. Give yourselves a round of applause. That was ace. I imagine you tried some exercises that you haven't done before today. If you have any questions or struggles at all about this, or you have a specific issue that you struggle with your riding, please message me. I'm hoping to record many more videos like this, so I'm here to help.